Welcome, everyone, back to segment 3 of our March edition of Conversations with Archbishop Kurtz. Archbishop Teresa is one impressive person.
Yeah, she's really an ideal example of a volunteer, isn't she?
We are so lucky. We're so blessed to have people like her serving in our diocese. Yeah. They're really, as you sometimes referred to, the salt of the earth of our church.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, a little bit of a different kind of topic here. 49 years ago this month, March 18th, 1972, exactly. You were ordained to the priesthood. 49 years is quite a story and quite a history, so I'd like to spend a little bit of time with you on talking about you, if you don't mind.
Sure. No, I'm happy to do that, and really to rejoice in the call. I mean, I try to picture what I was even thinking when I was ordained, and I presumed I would be an associate pastor and a pastor somewhere, and I'd spend my time in the eastern part of Pennsylvania in the coal regions, and God was laughing all the time.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
What's that line about? Don't make plans.
Exactly.
God.
That's exactly right.
Okay, so ordained for the Diocese of Allentown. Mm-hmm. What led you to priesthood?
Yeah, well, Brian, I think I can genuinely say that I felt the call. It may be overused. I'm in a book club with some theologians and the Archbishop, and we're doing a book by Father Romano Guardini called The End of the Modern World, and he emphasizes very much this notion of the call of Jesus. And honestly, I think if I think back to my 10th grade in Catholic high school, I experienced, I think, in the chapel, what I felt was a call to do more. We were taking the, SAT tests. I forget what they were called at that time, but the early things for college. We started to think about our careers. And I ended up entering the seminary thinking that was the first time, 10th grade, that I was thinking about it. However, others had said, we thought you were going to go and become a priest. So I don't know what they saw. That call to follow Christ, and I think maybe the influence that you and I have talked a lot about of being a brother with somebody with Down syndrome,
George,
made me sensitive of what it means to serve others. That combination got me in the seminary. I can remember my first couple of years in the seminary questioning and wondering, should I stay or leave, as I guess most people do. Once I hit what would be the equivalent of my 3rd year of college, I don't think I've looked back. I kept seeing the call of Christ as being an adventure, and I think everything I've been asked to do, every assignment I've had has been an adventure, but an adventure in which I felt at home. So I don't know there's kind of a combination that I believe is the sense of adventure of doing things that you never thought you were going to be able to do, or being called to do, and meeting people and being involved in the name of Christ, but also feeling at home with it. So all along, it's been a great thing as I trace my different assignments as a priest.
It's risky to use a parallel to talk about a priesthood as a career or a profession, because it really is the way you live your life.
It is. It's your whole life. That's exactly right. I think you really have to call it a vocation. I think there are certain concentrations that come, maybe because of a gift that a particular priest has, or maybe simply because the bishop asked him to do something and he ended up doing it. Yeah. And in my case, early on, I was asked I was on loan to a new diocese, Scranton, and to go to a school of social work in order to prepare for Catholic Charities. At that time, in the 70s, they needed credentialed people to run and be involved in Catholic Charities. So I got my MSW. I worked in Catholic Charities for 24 years, and always living in a parish and being engaged, especially on weekends with Sunday Mass. And the more I did it, the more I loved it. I mean, I don't think I've had an unhappy day as a priest. And
can you pick out a couple of highlights of your priesthood?
Most of them have been being able to be engaged in working with other people. I think I mentioned this to you the other day when I said, one of the good things about getting cancer is that people throughout your life get in touch with you. They, you know, I mean, I've talked to people from the 70s who are friends of mine, but I hadn't been able to keep contact with. And I think the quality of those friendships and those, I would call them abilities to really connect. I'll give you an example. There was a barber back in Catasauqua where I was first pastor, Fred Hutterer. And he got my number and made contact because he has since died. He was in hospice. He wanted to make contact with me. My brother Georgie and I went there for haircuts. I mean, that's what we did every 4 or 5 weeks or whatever it was. But we entered into a relationship that now, 30 years later, he's connecting with me before he dies. There's some, I guess anything that can happen to anybody, but especially good in priestly life.
Very good. When you think about those memories of highlights in your vocation story yourself, tie those into what you would say or what you do say to a young person, young man in particular today, thinking about priesthood.
Yeah, I say be open to the call.
Okay.
Be open to the fact that there is a definite call that comes from outside yourself. It's not about you. People will say, well, I don't know if I'm perfect enough to be a priest. Well, they have to look at me and say, you don't have to be perfect in order to be a priest. But be open to the adventure of what it means to serve Christ in others, to be able to collaborate with others. The life of a priest is just a very enriching life. Is it for everybody? No. No, I understand that. Everyone has a vocation, but not necessarily to the priesthood. But I would say to a young person, be open and don't hold it to yourself. Talk to someone you trust. It might be a parent or sponsor for confirmation. It might be a coach or a teacher that you admire. But continue the conversation. And of course, you probably know me. I say read. Be willing to read and learn more about what you may be drawn to.
Archbishop, it doesn't surprise me, knowing you all these years, that when I asked you for highlights, you didn't talk about being a charities director, a pastor, a bishop, an archbishop, a president of the Bishops' Conference. You talked about relationships. Because
Thanks.
as I experience you and your priesthood, I experience you not just relationally, but I experience you as a person who automatically reaches out regardless of office or position. Can you talk about what it means to be an outreach person, which is, I see your priesthood?
Yeah, I think so. I think anybody who gets hooked into titles, they're going down the wrong path. Our Holy Father has it right. We encounter Jesus Christ, and we encounter him in other people. And it's rather simple. And yet in that process, it's very life-giving because it enriches your life. And I like to think back on the people who've enriched my life as a priest. And gosh, 49 years, I'd like 49 more.
Very good. Well, congratulations on your 49 years.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Brian.
And we celebrate with you and are grateful for your ministry. And we thank you, our audience, for being with us for the March edition of Conversations with Archbishop Kurtz. Tune in again next month for the next edition.